Okay, hey guys, this is John, and this is game 2 with my student, Håvard. Yeah, we're playing a 2-game match, 15 plus 10, 15 minutes, 10-second increments. I won't spoil the result of game 1, just in case you're watching these out of order. I will say, I think an adjustment that my opponent will make is that he'll probably try to play faster, especially in the opening and the middle game. Okay, so Håvard plays e6. Yeah, I wasn't quite sure what to expect with him, because again, he does mix up his openings from time to time. So e6, that's flexible. Players who do that, they don't mind going into a Dutch if you play, or not a Dutch, a French if you play e4, but they might be angling for a Dutch if you keep it in d4 waters, which I think I will do. I'm going to play knight f3. And I bet he's going to go for f5, channeling Simon Williams. No. All right, he plays knight f6, a little surprise. All right, well, let's play for the main line. So now black has a number of options, and he goes for the Bogo-Indian. I usually play bishop d2 here. I don't think I'm going to change anything. You can also play knight bd2, or even knight c3. So the idea here is if he takes, I'm going to take with a queen to try to get this knight to a slightly better square, the c3 square, instead of d2. Just more active there. Influences d5, so that's the main reason for taking with the queen. So usually, black does not take here right away. Plays knight c6. Okay, that's already a little strange. Usually queen e7 or a5, or even c5 are the moves. Because knight c6, so if I take, his knight is already in a slightly awkward position. Man, I don't think I can trap that knight or anything, but I can kick it around. So let's say take a3, knight here, d5, just expanding. That's interesting. Could also just take and then play knight c3. Maybe I do that. Maybe I try to play without a3 for the time being. He could go d5. Yeah, I'm going to take. So this just looks like an odd move order to me, unless this is some line I don't know about, but I don't think so. Again, I don't think it's losing for black, but this knight just looks suspiciously overextended and potentially vulnerable here. So again, let's look at the direct thing. a3, knight c6, d5, maybe knight e7, knight c3, just try to develop like this. I could see him obtaining perhaps a normal position that way. So yeah, I think I'm just going to play knight c3. Let's not kick him yet. Keep him guessing. This strategy has worked very well for me throughout my chess career. But basically, the strategy is avoiding playing the obvious move. If you don't think the obvious move leads to an immediate advantage for you, then it might be better just to play a constructive move that helps make the obvious move better later. So knight c3, that's the square I definitely want for the knight. It assists in playing d5 in the future. So let's make him guess whether we want to play a3 or not. I talk a lot about this idea with pawn tension. Keep the tension in a position. Keep your opponents constantly guessing. Okay, so he plays b6. So already this gives me more options if I want to go for a3 and d5 now. He's kind of committing to a queenside fianchetto. So candidate moves here. a3, e4, maybe g3 just to set up a counter to his fianchetto. That would be common. e4 looks real tempting. Because then, yeah, I already have a beautiful center. Also, well, that's, yeah, okay. Also, if he moves his d-pawn, I have queen a4 check, followed by picking up his knight. I was just wondering, like e4, let's say d6, queen a4, he can play knight c6. Yeah, and then if I take it, bishop d7, my queen even escapes there. But no, it's not good for him to play knight c6. Definitely not. Yeah, I'm going to go e4. I don't see why not. Expand in the center. Again, hold off on this move just for the time being. I didn't like d5 immediately, by the way, because then that weakens the c5 square. He might end up pivoting his knight back like this. Maybe play a5 first. But this, on the other hand, he's got all of these moves to consider. And once again, this is a dual commentary match, so you can check out Crimsonites, aka Håvard's, commentary as well after this game. So I'll link it below. By the way, this is like sparkling water. I don't really drink soda, but this sparkling water stuff is really good. I'm simuling that in, of course, the Starbucks, my drink of choice. Somehow these drinks, I feel, actually make you more thirsty, though. Even though it is water. Somehow they make me more thirsty. It's just water and natural flavoring, according to the ingredients. No sweeteners or anything, but if anyone has an explanation for that, like why they actually make you more thirsty, I would love to know. If that's actually the case, it's great marketing. Buy more of that stuff. Okay, so he did move a little bit faster. Now he's slowing down again, and I think for good reason. He's got to figure out whether it's dangerous for his knights here. I mean, honestly, I think he should just castle here. I don't think he should try... Okay, yeah, d6, so now this runs into queen a4 check. Yeah, that actually just loses a piece for him. Queen a4, knight c6. I could take it immediately, and that's the line I was mentioning, bishop d7, queen here. I don't think my queen becomes trapped, but it's a little awkward. Like, he can play a5. I think what I'm going to do, though, is queen a4 check, knight c6, d5. That should be the cleanest. Just pin and win. Yeah, that's just a piece. Yeah, not really any way to complicate either after d5. Maybe he could play b5 there. Queen takes b5, rook b8, but it's not enough. It's a very good tactical pattern to know, and that illustrates the problem with this knight extended on b4. You run into this stuff a lot. Yeah, he is going to play knight c6, so again, I could capture this right away, bishop d7, queen here. It just makes me a little uncomfortable having my queen back there. And he would be threatening a perpetual on the queen. He could get a perpetual. No, he couldn't, because I go out through a6. I keep forgetting I could go out through a6. I was thinking if rook b8 and I take on a7, he plays rook a8 and back and forth, but I always get out via a6. But I think this move, on the other hand, just puts anything like that to rest, and I'm intending to take on c6 with the pawn. I mean, the only way I see he gets anything here is with b5. b5, queen takes rook b8, but it's very desperate. Queen takes c6, check, bishop here. Queen a6, he takes on b2, and then I just have to get my development going. Okay, here I think I'm going to take with the c pawn, which helps me better defend the b5 square. So b5 I can take with a bishop that time. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, real clean win of a piece. I mean, there's a lot of times when you lose a piece, there is some way that you can complicate and make your opponent, work for it. But here, I just don't really see that happening. Okay, so here, now I could legitimately think about taking with the queen again, because on bishop d7, I have this queen back to c4 option, which I'm kind of liking. I think I'm going to do that, because I wonder if this... I mean, my pawn does block his bishop in a little bit, but he might get some pressure on e4. I think I do like the queen capture somewhat better. This is always a nice situation, deciding between good options. Yeah, hits his rook in the corner. Yeah, let's take with the queen. And now I'm expecting bishop d7, queen here. And then I just got to get this bishop out. I still want to castle kingside. I'd be less likely to castle queenside, even though it is available, because I don't want to sharpen the position. Opposite side castling, which could lead to I don't know, maybe him attacking me somehow on the queen side. I don't want to sharpen the game when I'm just up a clean piece. Queen c4 is nice. Queen's no longer in any danger. Helps me defend e4. Now I'm just going to put the bishop here next, and castle. That's the plan. Again, I would strongly consider stuff like b5 if I were him, but it's very hard to complicate now. There's not enough resources. I think I like bishop d3 a little bit better. Just might as well get one more defender on this square. And at b5... maybe just queen d4. Maybe just centralize. Yeah, so simply develop. Okay, a6, so clearly he's preparing b5. But I don't think I care. I'm going to go queen d4 against this idea. There's no reason to overreact and play a move like a4 here. b5, take, and then the a file is opened up. My rook would be undefended down there, so just castle and get ready to move this queen. Don't have to worry about bishop b5. That's covered by the knight. So no problems there. If c5, I'll take en passant. And now d6 is weak, so I think rook d1, followed by moving this bishop, trying to attack this weakness, makes a whole ton of sense. Trades are great for me going forward. But let's start with this move. Just kind of eyeing this. Yeah, maybe with an eye towards playing bishop c2 and sticking this bishop here. Perhaps once I attend to this e-pawn. He has 3 pieces aimed against that, but I have 3 defenders. So that's fine, and I could always enlist the help of this rook. This is the one piece that I don't have activated yet, so I think it's likely it'll end up on e1. Okay, plays queen e7, so this is where I could play that rook e1 move if I want. Also knight d5 comes into consideration. That just forces another trade. Attacking his queen and his knight. So for sure, that makes a lot of sense. Bishop c2, I think he'll play rook over. If I play rook e1, then I'm less likely to play knight d5 because after a trade... well, actually, my rook is defended, so I could even think about that. Yeah, let's start with this move. For a second, I thought this was only defended by the other rook, but... as has happened sometimes in my videos, I forget that the knight can move backwards. So the knight is assisting in defending. Also, this makes him think about e5. I might very well play that move if given the chance. Although, now if e5 takes, and that removes the defender. So maybe not quite yet. I'm expecting something like rook d8, and then I think I'll go ahead and play knight d5. Plays knight g4. Okay. So is he angling for the e5 square? That seems to be the case. Knight d5 again suggests itself. Yeah, let's do knight d5. h4 is covered by my knight, so he can't come in and attack these weaknesses. Probably has to go back to d8, which is not really a move you want to play. If he takes, I'll take with the pawn, and then not only am I hitting his queen, but also I'm hitting the knight laterally. Okay, plays queen b7. So trying to keep some pressure down that diagonal. This is still weak. So I'm thinking about knight b4, uncovering the attack here, also attacking his bishop. I could also just play h3, which always helps me later. There's no back rank issue to worry about. h3, he's probably going to go here. Then I can trade. Knight b6 would attack his rook, but he can just play rook d8 and guard this pawn. So I'd say of all these moves, this one appeals to me the most so far. Yeah, let's go with that one. e4 is sufficiently guarded, so no worries there. And notice how, even though I'm up a piece, I'm making an effort to keep everything defended. I want my pieces and pawns secure. In fact, if you look at my position, there's not a single piece that's undefended or pawn that's undefended. Even stuff like b2 I've got covered. So, I mean, I didn't, I guess, consciously play that way, but in making logical moves that strengthen my advantage, centralizing my pieces, that's just sort of what happened. So, yeah, I think subconsciously I recognize that it's important to minimize any opportunity black has to come back here. So from a competitive standpoint, this game has been over since he dropped the knight, but perhaps it is still useful to see how you convert a position like this. Some of you more advanced players have probably turned the video off at this point or lost interest. I can't blame you. I mean, it is just straight piece again. A lot of times if you drop a piece, you can somehow finagle some compensation, but the way Håvard did it, it didn't work out at all for him. I think he had to go for that b5 move I was mentioning, like right when I played queen a4 followed by d5. He's got to try something with b5. And then rook b8, rook takes b2. Just attempt to make it messy, because we got into a normal situation now. If he had an extra piece on the board, he'd be fine. But here, there's absolutely no chance. But I'm still not going to relax. Okay, so he plays rook d8. I think I'm just going to snap off that bishop. Could also think about that if I really wanted to try to brute force win this pawn, but I don't think there's a reason to do that. Yeah, I don't want to give him anything down the d file. So let's just take this guy. Now I'm looking at h3. Rook c1 if I want to transfer the play to the c file, but h3. Unless I can play e5 right away here. I should definitely look at e5 because of this undefended knight. Yeah, that might be the most efficient way to do things without even taking any risks, because if e5 pawn takes, not only is the knight hanging, but also queen takes d8 is possible. So e5, it'd be natural for him to play knight takes, but then knight takes. And again, if ever that pawn takes, I'm crashing through on d8, and he's got that back rank issue. So e5 is pretty rough here for him. Yeah. So interestingly, he's running into the same problem with this knight that he ran into on the other side of the board in the opening. Just an overextended, undefended knight, which I can now exploit. Oh, wow. Am I just hallucinating here? I think I hallucinated that I have this D file for some reason. Okay, this is why you can't relax. Yeah, I completely hallucinated there. I think this actually still works out. But this is not at all what I wanted. Oh my. That's pretty funny. I think it works out because I can do takes, pawn takes, and then bishop takes h7. No, but then that doesn't work. That doesn't work so well. That does not work at all. Because he has queen h6. Well, that's semi-embarrassing. Not even semi-embarrassing. That's straight embarrassing. So if knight takes, pawn takes... Yeah, I thought I could play queen takes d8 and my other rook would be coming, but there's this problem of the bishop in the way. All right, so let's try to readjust here. Knight takes, pawn takes. I mean, I can play queen h4 if I want. Hits this, but he just plays g6. I'm actually thinking about just playing bishop e4 in this position. Also I can change up the move order, can't I? Okay, this is interesting. I can play bishop takes h7, king takes h7, then queen h4. That way he doesn't have queen h6 to block. So queen h4, he moves his knight, or his king rather, to g8. Then I take on e5. Aha. I had this planned all along, guys. Don't worry about it. No, of course. Again, this is not necessary. This is complicating the game when you don't have to. But I'm pretty sure it does work. So again, let's look at that line. Bishop takes h7, king takes h7, queen h4 check, king g8, knight takes e5. He can't take that knight. He can play his queen into c2 maybe. Looking to cause a little ruckus, but I think I have knight back to d3 there. Yeah, and if queen takes d3, I have queen takes d8. No, I don't have queen takes d8. He has rook takes e1, and his king escapes via h7. Let's look at that one more time. Bishop takes h7, king takes h7, queen h4 check, king g8, knight takes e5, queen c2. Because queen c2 is a little annoying. He has some pressure down against my pawns. Bishop takes h7 is flashy, but ultimately it may only win a kingside pawn. I could just play bishop e4 here, which is completely safe. So unless I see something like a knockout with this other line, I think I might just play bishop e4 and say, okay, I blundered a pawn, but I'm still up 2 points of material and should be easily winning. But let's look at that one more time. Bishop takes h7, king takes h7, knight takes e5. Or sorry, queen h4 first. Can I play knight takes e5 first? No, again, because he can take with the pawn and then check. Yeah, that's not working. So take, queen h4, king g8, knight takes e5, queen c2. Yeah, queen c2 is just a little annoying at the very end of that line. Knight d3, and then queen takes d3, believe it or not. And my back rank issue is a problem. No, I think that works actually. Again, I think I missed something. So bishop takes h7, king takes h7, queen h4 check, king g8, knight takes e5. And then queen c2, knight d3. And if queen takes d3, I have queen takes d8. Because he can't play rook takes e1. Rook takes e1 is just illegal. I don't know why I thought rook takes e1 was a thing. Yeah, okay. Think I'm going to go for that. King coming out to g6 is not a problem ever, so yeah, let's do it. I spent 5 minutes on that move, though. Part of that was just mentally adjusting to the shock that I hallucinated that I could play queen takes d8 after knight takes e5. And if you have the time, it's not a bad idea to do that. Just mentally readjust. But I think this line is working. So again, king takes h7, queen h4 check, king g8, knight takes e5, and he can't take it either way. He ends up losing the rook on d8. So my queen on h4 is assisting in the attack. So I was looking at that queen c2 move, and I was just mainly trying to verify if I can play knight to d3, which I think I can. Knight d3, and then if queen takes d3, importantly, I can play queen takes d8. It's a long calculation. But yeah, queen takes d8. I don't know why I didn't see queen takes d8 or why I originally thought that didn't work. Maybe I was only looking at rook takes e8, and then rook takes d3 really is impossible because of rook e1 checkmate. But queen takes d8 just works, flat out works. If queen takes d1, I take on e8 with the queen and then pick up his queen. I'll show that line after the game. So he's pondering. I mean, he could move his king here, but that's no problem. Then I retreat my bishop, and I'm very happy. Interestingly, I think I would even decline to take 2 rooks for the queen. Okay, so he's going to challenge me in this line, but let's go check. Next, I'm going to take on e5. I'm just checking that line one more time because queen c2 is the only dangerous move I see after knight takes e5. So just good to double check that line. Yeah, I don't see any problem with it. And if after knight d3 he does not play queen takes d3, and he plays rook takes e1 instead, then I take with the rook, and if he takes my undefended knight, then d8 is hanging with check. And there's never like a g5 move he can play to try to deflect my queen, because I'm always taking on g5 with check, because remember his king will be back on g8. I can pre-move knight takes e5 here if I want. I'm going to be playing it regardless of whether he goes to that square, g6 or g8. He's going to go to g8. So pre-move time. I don't advocate pre-moving unless you're 100% certain your opponent's going to play a move like that. Pre-moving in standard, that is, especially with an increment. Bullet is a different animal entirely. There you have to pre-move if you want to play well. Or perform well, rather. So I wonder what he's thinking about, because king g6 is just flat out bad. I mean, after knight takes e5, you virtually have no choice but to take the knight and then go lose the rook on d8. So he's going to have to take, or move his king to g8. Takes queen c2, knight d3. Yeah, I think I've been through all the permutations. I need to convince myself this is good. Just a little tricky with all the back rank stuff going on and loose pieces. Oh, he actually did play king g6. I'm surprised by that. Okay, well, I was going to play this move anyways. There's also queen g5, but there's no reason to do that. Yeah, you got to take, but I'm just winning his rook on d8. There's no way he can really even attack this rook down here. And if rook takes e5, I have a choice. I can take on e5 first or take on d8. Doesn't matter. Both are good. Probably I'll take on e5 first. Yeah, I don't know why he didn't go to g8. Maybe he thought I was going to go knight g5 and queen h7, but that was definitely not my plan. No reason to entertain complications like that. That probably is also good, to be honest, but... So apparently this line he played is called the Haiti variation, knight c6. Yeah, I don't think this is a good line. Again, I don't think it was fatal for black in the opening, taking on b4, but the knight is just overextended. It seems to give white some unnecessary options. Yeah, he resigned. Okay, so I'll demonstrate that last line I was calculating just to show it. So king g8, knight takes e5. Then again, he can't take this either way. He loses the rook on d8, like so. There's never any g5 tricks. They don't work. So I was just contemplating this move. And, you know, white's winning in different ways, but the move I really want to play here is knight d3 in order to defend this pawn. So knight d3. And if rook takes e1 check, I take with this rook, and he doesn't have time to take my knight because this is hanging at the end. So the thing that I just spent some time on is if he can play queen takes d3 here. And I don't know why the first time I calculated this line, maybe this is a continuation of the hallucination from earlier. I thought that this was somehow working for him because of the back rank. You know, like this idea. And admittedly, it would be fine if I took on e8 first, because again, I can't take this queen because of rook e1. But I have this desperado move, queen takes d8, and that is decisive. I'm going to emerge up a rook here. If he takes, I take. No, rook takes e1. And if he continues desperadoing, queen takes, I take here. With the queen check, rook takes would have been illegal. King moves, pick up this. And the final detail is... what? There's some other line. Oh yeah, final detail is the fact that rook takes e1 is just illegal here. So that was the thing that cost me a little bit of time. But this is a good illustration. I was not at all intending to do this, but I relaxed, I think, and I hallucinated that somehow this was possible. I thought that knight takes e5 was just straight dropping material because I could do this and followed by rook takes d8, but of course that's not how chess works. So even though this worked out, I think in hindsight I should just play h3 here. That's the move that I would choose. But otherwise I think I played this position well. And e5 just kind of happened to work. But yeah, so that illustrates the problem with this knight being out there so early on. So if I was Håvard, I would look for different options here instead of knight c6. Main line's queen e7, defending the bishop, and there's also a5 or even c5. They're all valid options. And the only other thing I'll mention, I think after this d5 move, I think his best chance was this move b5. Queen takes b5, trying to keep the pin, and then rook b8. Take, bishop d7, and then try to win b2 next move. So queen here, only safe move takes. This looks a little scarier to me as white than what happened in the game, but I think white should succeed in getting the king castled. Should be completely winning anyways. So, but I would at least try for something like this to mess things up, muddy the waters. Okay, so a couple of games, they were lopsided. That can sometimes happen with a big rating mismatch like this, of course. But Håvard was really excited about playing a dual commentary, and I think it is instructive. You can see that I messed up in the second game a little bit, just total mental hallucination. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and check out Håvard's commentary if you want to see the other perspective. I'll link it below. All right, bye guys.